my people, good afternoon, good evening, and good morning, depending on where you are getting our news from here. It is a good afternoon, and you are hearing Victory Voice TV at this point in time. Please do join us and subscribe to the channel, turn on your notification bell that you'll be getting our news promptly. All right, there's actually a committee that has completed their investigation on UK ministries handling Kanu's arrest and detention. Yes, people are not actually quiet, but the process is too slow. It's not supposed to be this slow. The Foreign Affairs Select Committee inquiry in the Foreign Commonwealth and Development of Office FCDO handling of the state level hostage situation published a submission by Bindmans LLP on behalf of leader of indigenous people of Biafra, Nnamdi Kanu's family. Okay, the probe was launched to examine the failure of the FCDO to take appropriate action in response to Mr. Kanu's torture, extraordinary rendition, and arbitrary detention. Kanu was illegally arrested in Kenya and extraordinarily renditioned to Nigeria in June 2021 and has since then remained in detention despite court judgment ordering his unconditional release. His family and indigenous people of Biafra have accused the British government of not doing enough to secure release of Kanu, who is a British citizen. Meanwhile, Kanu's family was represented by John Halford and Shrine Maker of Bindmans LLC. The mandate of the inquiry, according to report, is to discuss the process and approaches taken by the British government in securing the release of detainees in Iran and elsewhere. Okay, the submission examines the British government's approach in Kanu's case and highlights the limited effectiveness in that approach in the face of the serious breaches of international law committed against Nnamdi Kanu. Submission also makes recommendation to FCDO for better practice. Below is a full text of submission by the committee made available to Vanguard. Mr. Kanu is a British national who ordinarily resides in UK with his wife and children. On 19th of June 2021, Mr. Kanu was abducted from airport in Nairobi, Kenya, and detained and tortured for around 10 days in Kenya. He was then subjected to extraordinary rendition from Kenya to Nigeria to face criminal prosecution in relation to his activities with the indigenous people of Biafra. Ever since, Mr. Kanu has been detained in conditions that amount to torture at the headquarters of Nigerian Intelligence Agency in Abuja, Nigeria. He has been repeatedly denied access to medical assistance and to his legal team. Mr. Kanu has requested consular assistance from British government, but British High Commissioner officials have been permitted to visit him on only 5 occasions. Mr. Kanu remained in detention despite United Nations and the Nigerian Court of Appeal having concluded that he was subject to extraordinary rendition and calling for his release on the basis that his detention is arbitrary. Listen, the British government's response. Despite the Nigerian Court of Appeal ruling and the condemnation by the UN, successive foreign secretaries have been unwilling to reach any firm view as to whether Mr. Kanu has been subject to extraordinary rendition, nor have they called for his release. On behalf of the family, Bindmans, represented Mr. Kanu's family in judicial review challenge to the former Foreign Secretary Liz Truss unwillingness to reach a decisive view that Mr. Kanu was a victim of extraordinary rendition and other human rights abuses by the Nigerian government, an approach maintained by her successor, James Cleverly. Judicial review hearing took place on 15th of November 2022 and judgment is pending. This case will set an important precedent on whether the British government is permitted to avoid making a decision on whether a British national is subject to fundamental breaches of international law, in spite of overwhelming evidence of violation of their rights. You see? In light of Mr. Kanu's ongoing detention, the Kanu family hopes the following recommendation made in submission will be taken into serious consideration by the inquiry in turn by British government, leading to positive shift in the FCDO's current approach to its British national detained abroad. The FCDO raises its policy in respect of providing consular access to dual British national abroad, particularly in circumstances where there is a serious risk of torture and where there are grounds to suspect that serious and egregious violation of international law have been committed by the state in question against British nationals in their custody. The FCDO should ensure that it provides timely, prompted updates to family members about the steps it is taking on their behalf. FCDO should be open and transparent with family members about its justification for adopting a certain approach and disregarding others. The FCDO should adopt and implement a specific policy in respect of appropriate action to be taken on behalf of British nationals who have been subject to extraordinary rendition. The default position under that policy ought to be that where British citizens have been extraordinarily rendered and or tortured and then arbitrarily detained overseas, the British government will take all available diplomatic and legal steps to ensure their release and return to UK. But they're not doing it. They are not doing it, okay? This is because Nnamdi Kanu is talking about freedom of Biafra, where their business, the oil that is pumping money for the UK, the oil that is keeping them shining, that is where the oil is. We are praying that that oil will dry up. The oil in the eastern region of Nigeria will dry up. God will dry it up. Hence, that is where the key to our bondage lies. Imagine a nation like Britain are shamelessly keeping quiet while their citizen is being held incommunicado, in DSS with torture and arbitrary, detention. Very faulty detention. Very, very faulty. None has ever seen this kind of wickedness. And it's a shameful thing to British government. They are ashamed, they shame me, I tell you. I'm so ashamed of British government. They have nothing, no integrity at all. There's nothing like shame in their eyes. That is why they are not taking steps they ought to have taken to make sure that Nnamdi Kanu regains freedom. Hence, he committed no crime against humanity. He's just talking about the freedom of his people, and that is all that he has committed. If you hear this, please share to others. You see, it is not easy to give you such news. Okay, thank you very much, my dear people. God bless you.